The White Bear Area Chamber of Commerce and On Location TV 19 are proud to present Your Business Matters, dedicated to your business needs. The White Bear Area Chamber is a nonprofit business organization serving as an advocate for the White Bear area and its business community. Now here is the Executive Director of the White Bear Area Chamber and the host of Your Business Matters, Tom Snell.
This is Tom Snell, the Executive Director of the White Bear Area Chamber of Commerce with this month's Your Business Matters. As our guest, we have Trisha Cummins, the Executive Director of the nonprofit organization Solid Ground. Today, I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
The first question I want to ask you is, what is Solid Ground? What do you do, and why do you use the name Solid Ground?
Well, we are a nonprofit organization. We offer supportive housing for families who've been homeless or were at risk of homelessness. And for many years, in fact, we are about to celebrate our 25th anniversary. And for many, many years, we went by the name of East Metro Women's Council.
Okay.
And that name served us very well, but it really doesn't speak to what we do or who we serve. And we felt like we needed a new name that did a better job of telling the story of our mission. And so we chose Solid Ground, and we've been very happy with it.
Great. Now, you mentioned that you work with families that have been lost their homes, for example, or in financial stress. Is that all you do? I mean, or for your operation, or do you go into other areas besides that?
Well, many people know us for our East Metro Place program, which is in White Bear Lake. We're right next door to Century College.
Right.
And we have a 34-unit building there, but we also do scattered site housing in suburban Ramsey and Washington counties, where we partner with landlords to help house families who've been homeless, and we help them pay the rent, and we bring services into the home so that they can either find a new job or increase their hours, and other work that we can do to help them stabilize in their housing, make sure their kids are going to school, and that they're moving forward.
A really interesting question would be with people that are homeless. You said you mentioned you work with people that are homeless, and you must have some real interesting, compelling stories about how people got to the point where they were without housing. And the question that I would like to ask you is, have you run into people that were like what you would consider to be a traditional middle-class family? That something happened that caused them to lose their home.
Absolutely.
So that can be an issue. A regular middle class family that would lose their home.
I think that what we find is we serve a range of families, and some of them really are homeless mainly due to economics. Maybe only one parent worked or even both worked, but then they lost their job. We've seen a lot of increase in the past 4 or 5 years from the recession, and a lot of families who had not traditionally been involved at all with the system, so to speak, with county services or asking for any kinds of help, found themselves without any kind of support network. And we're one of the supports that they can turn to if they need help paying rent. And then we serve families who really have a lot of much more complex, longer-term barriers, a lot of health-related issues, mental health issues. Maybe they're in recovery from chemical dependency. Maybe they have children, with special needs. So they can have a lot of much deeper problems that they need help with.
Now, when getting back to the homeless part too, I wanted to. Do you find people that were where their financial system collapsed quickly? Ever? I mean, do you, where?
Well, I think if people are maybe a little underwater, maybe they've got too high a mortgage, or the rent is too expensive, and maybe their hours get cut back. Or a child gets sick and they don't have sick leave, and they can't pay the bill, or the car breaks down. A lot of times it's a lot of little things that conspire, and kind of snowball and become a big problem.
Are medical expenses ever a problem in leading to that type of a situation?
Yeah, in fact, I think it's one of the biggest reasons for bankruptcy, and it can be a very common reason in leading to homelessness.
Okay.
Yeah.
When one thinks of White Bear Lake and Matamidi area, Vadnais Heights, White Bear Township, typically, at least on the surface, you don't think that there's a problem with homelessness. And I don't mean this to be a critical remark, but you think, well, that's something that happens maybe in East St. Paul or happens in North Minneapolis, but not in White Bear Lake or Matamidi or Vadnais Heights or White Bear Township. Can you explain, you mentioned that you've seen more of those issues that have come up over the past several years. And are these communities that I just mentioned, are they being more affected or impacted than they were in the past with that problem?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't quote you an exact number, but I know that the school districts have reported huge increases in the number of kids who are very mobile or have actually lost their housing. And so they're providing services to them, trying to keep them in their home schools while their families are sorting through these problems. But I know that in some districts, it's jumped 200%. In suburban Ramsey County. 200%. Yeah. And if you talk to the schools, particularly the social workers in the schools, they'll be able to tell you all kinds of stories of families who, are really, really struggling. And things are getting better. But still, I think that there were so many families impacted in our school district in a number that we just haven't seen before.
So, and you've seen these major increases then over the time period when the economy went south back in 2006 or 2007, is that correct? Have you seen any improvement over the past several years? Because, the economy theoretically is coming back.
I would say yes and no. I mean, I think that for instance, the Wilder Foundation, Wilder Research, does a statewide study every 3 years. And in 2009, so from 2006 to 2009, the number of homeless individuals and families just skyrocketed. I think it was 25% over the previous 3 years. In 2012, just last year, they did another study. The numbers are still up, but not as high as they had been. So that's a good sign. It's not a good sign in that the numbers are still going up. And I think particularly for very vulnerable people.
But we still have to, but I think one of the things that you said that's really important is that we have to look at this as an issue that is confronting our local community.
Absolutely.
That's correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to get a little bit of history too about Solid Ground. When did you start and what were the beginnings of this nonprofit?
Sure. Well, we were started in the late 80s by a group of professional women who lived in the White Bear, Matamidi area, who wanted to be able to help particularly single moms with kids who were struggling because they knew that there weren't a lot of options for them in this area at that time. And so they did a survey of single low-income women, found that they needed help most with housing, education, transportation, childcare. And so East Metro Women's Council was founded out of that work. And we worked together with a local housing authority to build East Metro Place. And we worked in partnership with that housing authority for many years. But about 7 years ago, we purchased the property along with a partner, Duffy Development. So we actually own that building now, and we expanded it because there is such a growth.
You own the building. This is the building where your operation. You don't own the apartments, so do you?
We actually own the property. So we own the land and the building that East Metro Place sits on, which is just north of Century College. And the reason that we built there, is so that parents could go to Century College
That's
and
the next
further
question
their
I was going to ask
education.
you. So so you make it in a way. So you also partner with Century College then.
We do. We have a great partnership with Century College. Not all of our parents attend. Maybe they're
Yep.
still working on their GED or diploma, but many of our parents who are in college go to Century, and it's been a great resource for our families.
So you started with this group of professional women in White Bear and the Mahtomedi area, looking and saying there's this need. And today, has your operation grown to substantially since those beginnings in the 80s?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we started out serving 20 families a year. Now we serve about 80 families a year, more than 300 parents and children.
300 parents and children.
Yeah, and again, not just in White Bear Lake, but in suburban Ramsey and Washington counties as well.
So what are some of the other areas, you said not just in White Bear Lake, but suburban Ramsey and Washington counties. What are some of the other areas in suburban Ramsey County and Washington County that you encompass?
Well, we generally serve those entire areas, but our families tend to be more concentrated in North St. Paul, Oakdale, Maplewood, Cottage Grove. We have some in Stillwater, some in Forest Lake. So it tends to be where we can find more affordable rental housing, because the families, you know, we assist with the rent, but the families really need to be able to pay the bulk of the rent. And they aren't going to be able to find places in a lot of communities.
Can you give me some information about some success stories that you might have about a family that was down on their luck, or a single mother that was down on her luck, and based on maybe going back to school, they were able to reinvigorate their lifestyle and get out of the cycle of poverty?
Sure, absolutely. There was a woman that served on our board. She went through our program actually before I was there, and I've been there 16 years, so she was one of our first graduates. Was trying to go to school, had 3 kids, had left a violent relationship, was really, you know, sometimes living in her car, bouncing around with friends and family. A very, very smart woman. She went to Century College. She moved into East Metro Place, went to Century College, won an award for outstanding math and computer science.
And this is somebody with 3 kids.
With 3 kids.
Single mother.
Single mom. Went on to the University of Minnesota, after she left us. Got a degree in civil engineering.
Oh my gosh.
You know, so clearly extremely capable of much more than she was able to achieve before she got some help with her housing and with her kids. Her kids went through our tutoring program. They turned out to be excellent students themselves.
Wow.
And, you know, she did the work. The kids had to do the work. You know, we can't do it for them. But just giving her an opportunity for stability and someone to talk to and help overcome her problems, you know, really makes a difference in somebody's lives.
So
and we've seen that, you know, over and over again.
Oh, so this is something that, and I mean, that is really quite an accomplishment.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, most of our families are not going to achieve the level of success that she has because they are overcoming so much. But again, I just think it's really important that we have an opportunity.
It's possible. I mean, if you can reach just a few people and they can excel in dramatic ways, I mean, that's really an impressive result.
There was a young woman that spoke at our May event. We had a fundraiser in May. And she's very young, early 20s, has 4 kids. You know, had left an abusive family environment, had, you know, dealt with a lot of issues in her young life and was really struggling in and out of housing, again, with all of these little kids, you know. And she spent time at East Metro Place and went through our programming and worked with our employment specialist, you know, and is enrolled in culinary school. That's her dream. Is to go through culinary school. And, you know, she left us in the spring and moved into her own housing and and we wish her really well. So
That's wonderful. That's a
know.
great story.
Yeah.
I wanted to find out a little bit about you. You said you've been with the Solid Ground organization for 16 years. What got you started in this type of work?
Well, you know, I actually had a very loving and stable family and felt very grateful for having that. And I'm from Ohio. And after I got out of graduate school, I worked at a domestic violence shelter and was really, really impacted by what I saw there and what I learned there. And I didn't realize, frankly, you know, what many people had gone through. And I was just really, really moved by the challenge that families have when they're in shelter with being able to move out of that environment and into housing. Because shelter is necessary, but it's not a home. Nobody wants to live in shelter. And so oftentimes women would be there with their kids, you know, for a month or more and be faced with, you know, where am I going to go after this? I don't have a job, or I don't earn enough at my job to be able to find a place. And oftentimes they would end up going back to an unsafe situation because they felt like they had no other options. And so it was actually while I was at that shelter that I decided, you know what, I want to be a part of this work. I want to be able to provide options for families who want to move on, move forward with their lives. And so when we moved, my husband and I moved here for a job opportunity for him. And so I felt very lucky when I found work at East Metro Women's Council at the time, you know, to be able to be with families for more than just, you know, 30 days.
And you've been there for 16 years.
16 years.
Yeah.
It's a great organization.
The next question I have is that you get some funding from the government, right?
We do, yep.
Okay. Do you have to rely at all on support from the local community, voluntary financial support?
Absolutely. Only about a third of our funding comes from government, which is very unusual for a housing agency like ours. And it's a challenge for us, you know, because we do have to raise money either through foundation grants, which is about another third of our funding, and then a third from the community. And so we rely incredibly on the generosity of the community, and not just money, but also volunteer time. Last year, we had volunteers provide over 7,600 hours.
That's incredible. That's really, that's a lot.
You know, that's 4 full-time people.
Sure.
You know, and we just couldn't do our work, so they serve as tutors. We have an after-school tutoring program. They serve as employment mentors for women who are looking for jobs, and men, I should say. And they help out. We have a girls' club and a boys' club where volunteers, you know, just do fun stuff with our kids. Because oftentimes they don't have that positive role model in their life. Or because mom or dad is so busy trying to work or trying to go to school, trying to support their families, they don't have a lot of free time to do that kind of stuff with their kids.
Do you have opportunities where people can come and maybe network with each other and financially support your operation?
We do. Every month on the second Tuesday evening of the month, we have a Home at Last tour. It's from 5:30 to 6:30 at night. So
Home at Last?
It's called Home at Last.
Okay.
And it's a tour at East Metro Place. It only lasts 1 hour, but we tour the building, we talk about our programs. You get to hear directly from one of our participants about what she's doing and how she's been impacted by our work. And, you know, at that time, you can ask whatever questions you have from us. And if you want to start volunteering, you can do that. I mean, we welcome anybody.
Do you have like a big gala opportunity for people? Do you have any kind of a big fundraiser during the year?
We do. Every spring, it's usually the first Wednesday of May. We have a big fundraiser called Every Family Needs a Home. And it's a free event. But we have table captains who are some of our biggest supporters in the community who host a table, and but anybody is welcome. They just need to call us. And it's very similar to the tours that we do, in that we have a resident speak, and we talk about the work that we're doing, and we encourage people to support us.
If somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
They can, a couple ways. They can call us, and our number is 651-773-8401. They can check us out on the web at solidgroundmn.org. And there's a contact page on there where you can get my email or our volunteer manager and so forth.
Thank you.
Thank
I appreciate it very much. This is a very informative opportunity to learn about solid ground. And again, Trisha, thank you so much for coming to the Chamber program, Your Business Matters.
Well, thank you for having me.
You've been watching Your Business Matters. For more information on this program or the White Bear Area Chamber, visit www.whitebearchamber.com or call 651-429-8593.